Hello and welcome to the Essential Ingredients podcast. I'm your host, Justine. As always, I'm so pleased to have you all here. We're joined today with VC founder Riana Lynn. Riana is the founder of Journey Foods, a tool for CPG founders that promises to revolutionize recipe development and sourcing. You won't want to miss this one, so stay tuned. Welcome to the Essential Ingredients podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. What a great opportunity to hear from a female founder, somebody who's an entrepreneur, and also providing such a great resource to the community. So Riana, welcome.
Thank you, Justine. So good to be here. I've been diving into some of your other recent episodes and happy to have this conversation.
Great. I'm so pleased. So, as an entrepreneur, you kicked off your own initiative and, dreamt this up. And as you were mentioning to me before, ever since you were a little kid, you've been kind of on this journey. Excuse me. So sorry. So, just for those folks, so we can get everyone on the same page, we're going to talk to you about being an entrepreneur. We're going to talk to you about being a female founder, and we're going to talk to you about this resource that you built. So before we get into all of it, can you just let everybody know what Journey Foods is?
Yeah, so Journey Foods is sort of the modern day consultant to your food formulation and supplier broker needs. We set out when Journey Foods was founded right before the pandemic, and we sort of launched it full time after a couple years of pilots while I was still working in VC. We sought out to first solve large nutrition issues in rapid pace, right? So when you're looking to formulate a product based on consumer nutrition or allergen or functional needs, it can take many months. And we thought as a team, and just a background being a scientist, like how do we use AI powered science to accelerate what several humans sort of take in a lab and on a test kitchen to get the perfect recipe in just minutes or just hours, right? And so Journey Foods launched as an AI white paper with test products around fruit snacks, where we wanted to get the optimal nutrient dense fruit snack that was free of additives and food dyes. And I presented that at San Francisco Future Food in March of 2019. Spent a year and a half building the platform. And now today, we are an AI operational scientist for nutrition formulations, sustainability formulations, all paired with supply chain insights and costs. And so we've built the world's most actionable nutrition database that helps companies rapidly formulate their product recipes for the $3 trillion packaged food market, or they can come in and reformulate products that exist today, whether that be for a supply chain crunch or to, switch out their products to be gluten-free or bring in functional medicine within their food. Lots of different scenarios for our customers today. But our goal has been from day one to improve the nutrition and the cost for these products, but save lots of time.
Wow. So, this is, it's huge what you're doing. It's just huge. And it allows smaller organizations even to have a resource that they might not otherwise have the ability to access. So I have to ask, you know, I heard you say you were a VC. I heard you say you were a chemist. Your background is so varied. What drove you specifically here?
The road was, how do I keep innovating in food? And
And why
sometimes,
food?
yeah,
Why food in particular?
yeah, why food? In undergrad, when I was studying biology and nutrition, genetics, and chemistry, my goal was to launch into a career that could solve chronic disease, particularly diabetes and cancer, right? Because these are things that were facing my family members. And the more time I stood in community with my family, with friends, within research communities, I found that the underlying theme was food. You know, majority of the world's malnutrition, whether that be eating too much bad food or eating too little, and hunger related illnesses and chronic disease. Most of the deaths attributed with chronic disease are related to food. And I wanted to be able to solve a problem to see my grandmother and my parents live longer. Truly, that was sort of just like, what can I do to help my family live longer? And then maybe I can live longer, if I have that same genetic pathway. And then from there, you start to realize it's not just, some family members, or a poor family on the south side of Chicago, right? That's in the middle of a food desert. It's
Hmm.
I start to when I launched my first food company with the family member, I started to see that there were, wealthy middle-aged white women, right? That were living in some of the most wealthy zip codes in the country, coming to us to solve issues with their gut and with cancer, and drink fresh and raw foods, right? And so you see that this issue, especially in the United States, has no socioeconomic barriers. And it was that at that turning point in grad school about 15 years ago when I decided that, this is really not going to change by me getting a master's in public health and going to DC, even though I spent time, at the White House and Department of Health and Human Services, where RFK is trying to chop that up right now. But I thought it was really going to be me as an entrepreneur and working with these private companies, where we were going to see the most change, or where I could be a part of the biggest change here.
That's amazing. And it really resonates with me because, I mean, I'm sure it's going to resonate with so many people on so many levels. But as you're saying this, you know, and I'll just share this with you, but I created a sizzle reel for a docuseries because my mother had cancer and my mother had ALS, and I saw all these people, including my mother, go off to places that were not science backed just because of hope, and catching and trying to hold on to something because they were scared of Western medicine, or they were scared of the unknown, or they're just desperate. And it inspired me to also create this platform because I really want people to be able to be inspired and make a choice, a more informed choice for themselves. And the only way I knew how to support that endeavor was to give people the platform and get the experts and the people that are in this world sharing that information. Because if you can talk to these people and then they hear your story, it inspires them to create change, right? To make a difference and be curious.
Yes, the curiosity was important for me, right? As I started to dive in and think about the ways we were working to bring new products to the market with these consultants and these manufacturing food technologists, um, I started to ask questions like, I want to create a gummy, a fruit, these smoothie cubes. They're not really gummy bears, but these smoothie cubes, fruit snacks. And I was asking, like, how do we get one that looks just like a white dragon fruit? And they said, um, you have to bleach it. You have to add some dioxides and other things to it to get this like lasting white color that you probably love in white jelly beans and other things. And I said, like, absolutely not. Like, we're not going to do this. And so I think, many times my curiosity about myself, right? Like, am I going to get diabetes at 50 years old? Because every generation is getting chronic disease earlier than our parents, right? And I'm so happy that you shared that story about your mother, because there's probably been times when you're like looking at your mom trying to find these decisions and go out to alternative medicine and thinking to yourself, this could happen to me in 15 and 20 years, right? And so you want to have the platform here for yourself. You want to share things that are happening to your mom, but you also want to make sure that people understand these journeys, and you can share your curiosity. And I put my curiosity into building this database, into building a team of scientists and AI engineers.
It's amazing. And so as you've built this over the last few years, What was your journey like in terms of you went from being a VC to now being an entrepreneur? You're on different ends of the spectrum
Yeah.
here, right? So what was that journey like for you?
I think at first, at times it's challenging, right? You leave like a nice salary to then have to
Mhm.
create your salary. And so, you have to like pay other people first to get the product ready,
Mhm.
and fly all over the country and world to get money. And so I was starting to do that quite a bit and seeking, really creative VCs that understood that AI was going to be that were 2-3 years ahead of the AI investment trends. And it's a roller coaster, truly being an entrepreneur. And the highs are just so much higher than what you can get like being a VC. I think being on the ground, being an operator, but it comes with challenges. Being a minority woman that said we're going to create AI food scientists 5 years ago, and the food scientists being like, absolutely not, that's never possible, right? Like, you can't replace us. And I'm just like, this, I'm looking at your spreadsheets and it makes so much sense. And I'm seeing what you're charging, other entrepreneurs, and I don't understand why there's 200 food scientists at Beyond Meat to create a sausage, right? Like, those are the things that I just really didn't understand and just clearly didn't make sense. And for me, now we're, a few years later, and I think it's really trying to make sense for people.
I think people are getting more comfortable and familiar with AI and integrating that into how we're developing things because I think before it was a little scary and it's still a little scary for some people and they're still not sure what role it's going to play and how reliable it is and how much you have to tweak it. There's a lot of unknowns for people, but the potential is so great and what you're creating is so great. It's just a matter of having a little faith and being open to something new. That's what innovation's about anyway, right?
Exactly, exactly. And, I think that's why we have been so intent also on creating operational data, supply chain scores, cost scores, because that's really drives people's decisions. I mean, they want to help people eat better. We as founders, we as company managers and CEOs want, or just managers of our homes, we want to eat better. We want the
Hmm.
world to eat better. We want the world to have less impact on biodiversity and, nature and things. But at the end of the day, it's like, can we afford this? Can I get it? Does it cost me a lot of time and, convenience? And those are questions that we ask usually first. And that's what we started to really focus on 2021 and 22, is knowing that, like, behaviorally, we need to make sure that people understand, with our models, at least at Journey Foods, that cost and supply chain availability is just as important.
Yeah, and I also think it's not about saying can we afford this? It's about how can we not afford this? How do we make it work? How do we choose us and our future family and our next generations to be able to have the best possible options accessible to them? And I think it's through education and information and transparency and also curiosity.
Yeah.
Because, without curiosity, people are not going to better understand why they should make that choice or how to know that there are other options.
Yeah, I think, consumers now and company leaders are becoming more curious in what the alternatives are, and not just following, simple workflows and, playbooks. Um, but the transparency and the ability to educate around the possibilities, right? Like the alternative possibilities of manufacturing, the alternative ingredients that are available, and how they can be incorporated into our everyday grocery and foods. These are questions that we have to continue to model and ask ourselves every single day that we're running companies or that we're going to the grocery store to shop.
And I think that for end consumers, it's also different, right? Some end consumers don't know the answers to all of those questions, but make a decision based on what they hear, partial information. So I think it's important also for end consumers to be a little bit more curious, not just, say, oh, organic's better. Why is organic better? Or, here are some foods that, it would make it much better without palm oil and with this thing. Now, maybe they've heard this, but they don't know why. And I think it's incumbent upon the organizations that are doing this to really shed some clarity on this and light on this and educate on this. And I think people are doing that, but I still think there's so many people making decisions blindly.
Absolutely. I think, when you walk into a grocery store and it's like, you kind of get local, right? You get this came from the farmer in the county or the town over. But everything else is like very confusing. The coding on our labels to, what organic is in the US versus other places, how it's managed, why it costs so much more, what is conventional, what is processed, unprocessed, what is natural, right? I mean, these are questions that
Oh
we
my God,
don't
yes.
really have good education around and answers to, and these are things that we're not taught in school, right? We're just taught my plate features and that we should eat sugar sparingly. And so you try not to eat candy, then you realize sugar is in everything because we built the food system around it. So it can be a challenge if you're not that curious, but I think more than ever, consumers have a very unique time to use social media, to use website traffic and app downloads and, um, purchasing power to push
Mhm.
manufacturers and business owners to be more creative and more curious around alternatives. And I think we're closer than we think, but it will take some investment in infrastructure. And these are things that I think are ripe for disruption.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I think that it's ready, and I think people need to just sort of steamroll ahead almost to continue this progress because I think we're seeing some progress, but I still think that we need to see more. So I'm curious. I know that you said you were inspired by your family and trying to solve a problem there, but you created this great solution for all these entrepreneurs. I'm curious if there's any statistics that you could show through what you've built on the amount of people you've now been able to help serve both to build their businesses and create a better for you solution.
Yeah, there's several numbers that I can share. So to date, we've helped over 400 companies with new formulations or formulations for packaged products that are either e-commerce or in grocery stores. Um, some of a small percentage of them being also restaurants and chefs that have launched packaged products in their restaurants or chains, as well as a good percentage of those being ingredient suppliers that are supplying novel ingredients and additives and dyes, you know, natural extracted dyes to these many companies. We have hundreds of thousands of ingredients, tens of thousands that have been audited to date, over 17,000 SKU recommendations for improvements. We're now in 18 countries. Just launched in our fourth Asian country over the past couple of weeks. We have saved companies over $12 million in sort of recommendations around cost. I could go on and on with this.
Yeah,
Companies
no, it's amazing
range
though.
from yeah, companies range from pre-revenue with a little bit of money to spend on some new product, but not as much as you need for a big time consultant, to multi-billion-dollar private label, some of the biggest companies in the world that we've supported in innovation.
So if you look at that and you say, okay, you have everything from small to large, right? What percentage of those people might not have, or those organizations might not have been able to build out without a resource like yours because of lack of funding or lack of resources?
Yeah, over 18%, and we think that number is going to grow quite rapidly in the coming months and years. There was a little bit of pullback in 2020 because people were, scared about fundraising and logistics, but things have started to shift up. Now there's a little bit of change in funding, and so entrepreneurs are a little scrappier and they want to spend less money and get things to the market faster. So I think now that our data is much more efficient, we've seen a lot more small companies come for demos and sort of prepare to get in our pipeline. And we want to continue to lower the cost to entry for them, right? So the more data we
I was just
have,
going to ask you
yeah,
about that.
the more data we have, the more we raise money, the more, sort of feel comfortable with the access to the platform, the faster we're going to get more small companies from around the world to sign up and, scale with us.
What is the budget for entry?
You can enter as little as $60 a year, where you just list a couple ingredients on the platform, and you can get a dashboard that helps you understand what kind of companies are trying to buy your ingredient. That's very basic if you're just a supplier. Now, if you're a CPG company, it's it starts at a few hundred, goes to about 2,800 a year.
Wow. But that sounds a lot less expensive and a lot more accessible than going to get a chemist and trying to get your own and trying to get everything built with lots of minimums, etc., to be able to do this, and time and effort.
Absolutely. And even if you want additional services like test kitchens and other pathology reports and things, we have a partner network with, big discounts, and we sort of support you through that as well. So it's great to start with us and then sort of branch out as you get ready to launch. But we do monitoring over time as well. So you can monitor for pricing updates or regulatory changes, like maybe one of your ingredients is going to be banned, or perhaps consumers are looking for a change. And I think it's great to have that long-term analysis as you scale the life cycle of your company or a product.
Amazing to have those resources and to have that information. It's like you have an on-demand news release
Yeah, on demand,
coming to you.
on demand food scientist that is really well read.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing because I think that, sometimes we get our news and then things happen later, but to be able to get that as, as fresh news, it allows people to be at the forefront and to create greater change based on what the research is saying so early on.
Yes, and I think that we're just going to get better. Our models are just going to get better at supporting companies here, and would love to offer discount code to your listeners that
Oh, that would be
yeah,
amazing. Thank you for that.
absolutely, our suppliers or CPG founders or managers, and they can check us out. We have some really big launches coming up this year. I don't know when I'm assuming it's going to be a few weeks of this launches, but we're launching packaging AI, first company to really have packaging AI recommendations based on everything from dioxins in your film, right? That could be sort of polluting the body, to things that are more based around structure. We're also launching a large partnership to get funding through the platform, right? So if you have to increase your inventory or buy new product or buy machinery, we sort of support and are testing we're testing a co-underwriting process so that you can get a loan for that healthy update to your product recipe.
Mhm. Amazing. There's so many resources, and I'd love to be able to share them with the community. Is there a list you might be able to include for us to share with the community?
uh, you know, just check out
Or
Journey
maybe it's
Journey.
best, I was gonna say, maybe it's best if we send them to your website.
Yes, yes. Send them to our website, journeyfoods.io. You can follow me in our Journey Foods newsletter, The Pie, for updates. We'll be sure to share this interview there, and follow up with a discount code as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we will make sure to follow up with you so we can throw that in the show notes for our guests, for those guests that are tuning in today. But Riana, thank you so much for joining us today. It's so exciting to hear what you're building and the opportunities it's going to be able to provide for so many people that might not otherwise have had that access, to be able to do that. So I'm grateful to have had you on as a resource and as a female founder. Um,
Yes, yes.
and I look forward to maybe meeting you next week at Expo West when we're both there.
Oh, amazing. I look forward to trying out all the snacks and hopefully seeing you within the expo hall. But thank you so much, Justine, for your time and for the questions and for this platform.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Riana. We'll talk soon. And I want to thank our guests and our community that tune in each week, whether it's to be inspired or to hear a new story or to check out our resources. We're